Hey, everybody, welcome to a Cup of Ray, Sabado Pequeño, Saturday Small. I'm down here at the world famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill out here on Central Avenue. You guys and girls know where it is, just below 16th Street in the Edge district of St. Petersburg. And I'll tell you what, couldn't get a spot down here, couldn't get a spot anywhere along Central Avenue between 34th Street and the water all the way down on Beach Drive. And that's because it's a big Saturday down here in St. Petersburg over in the Berg. And right now, France and England are playing. France is up 2-1. They're in the ninth minute, or 8 minutes and 53 seconds of extra time. And wait till I wanted to go live a minute early because I'm telling you, you're going to hear the excitement. This place, Tristan and I were getting out of the car and we're coming over to set up, and we just got out of the car, and all of a sudden we heard like a roar. And of course, I think I shared this last week on Cup of Ray. We were down here doing the geocaching, or doing the Alice in Wonderlands down there, doing all the spots and playing the game, the online game. We all signed up for a great family night out there in St. Petersburg, and we heard the roars coming up Central Avenue from McDenton's and from Margaret Mary's Irish Tavern. And it was, of course, because I think it was Madrid at the time was playing, and they had scored a goal, and you heard the roar, and I'm like, well, makes sense. It's that time of year. We're kind of in the vacation time of year. We got a lot of South Americans, a lot of English, a lot of Canadians down here. But we've been out here for about a half an hour, 45 minutes out here at Ferg's, and I'm telling you, this is a 95 to 98% American crowd. But when France scores the go-ahead goal here, and you heard the roar coming from down here at the world-famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill, and, we talked about, of course, the men's team gets eliminated in the round of 16 to the Netherlands last Saturday. So y'all can hear it, right? Near shot, but not quite, so it's still 2-1. And you're like, oh, well, everybody said the men's team in 2026 is going to be our year. We got the youngest team in not only in the history of the American World Cup, but the history of the World Cup or FIFA soccer competition. And next time's our time. This is, we made it great. We're having a good time. We're having a good run. Maybe we beat the Netherlands. Of course, they lose to the Netherlands. And then that's it. That's the final right there. So France does win 2-1 to advance to the round of 8, beating England 2-1. And so the reason why I like it is because it just goes to show you, we know how big soccer is internationally. And it goes to show you that people here are getting excited. Maybe it's a good excuse to go out to Ferg's and have some great best of the bay wings or hamburgers. Maybe it's just an excuse to go out and have a good time with some friends. But as we get ready for which the 2026 World Cup will actually be here in the United States, don't forget about that. As we get ready for that, and then people will get the excitement will build, and we'll continue to get into that. Go Bucks. And we're talking about international sports. And I love it. Jenna Lane, I saw your post. You had a young lady. God, I wish I knew her name. I hadn't planned to mention this, but from Italy. And she makes it over to San Francisco for tomorrow's game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Huge Tom Brady fan. Yeah, I told him France won 2-1. All right. Huge Tom Brady fan. She couldn't get tickets over in Munich, which would have been a lot closer being from Italy, but she made it over to San Francisco to see Tom Brady playing tomorrow against the San Francisco 49ers. And since we segue to that, let's talk about that, right? And you can't talk about the San Francisco 49ers if you don't want to mention the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo, who was filling in for Trey Lance, who was injured early on the season with a broken ankle, Jimmy Garoppolo breaks his foot last week. And, of course, Purdy comes in there and has a decent game, not asked to do a whole lot. With a team like with John Lynch, of course, former Buccaneer and Hall of Fame defensive back, what you're asking a quarterback like Purdy to do when he steps in there, not asking him to do much. You're pretty much asking him not to make too many mistakes. And I get it. The 49ers, they're posed to make a run. This is a great team. They're one of the top 5 in an NFC, if not one of the top 3. This is going to be a big game for the Buccaneers, no matter how you sliced it. And of course, last week that was a big game for the Bucs as they get that victory. But now you go out to San Francisco, and at 6-6, the Bucs at 500. You saw that that graphic on Fox last week. Excuse me, whenever I have a faux pas, I remember why. You saw that faux pas last week on Fox. Bucs are a 92.6% chance to make the playoffs. Falcons are like 6.3. Panthers are like nothing. Having beat the Saints that night, now the Saints are like nothing. But you guys know, and guys and girls know, that the NFL is all about drama, and it could change in a minute. I'm not going to say the Bucs would go on a 2-game losing streak, could lose to the 49ers tomorrow and then come back and lose against the Cincinnati Bengals next week at Raymond James Stadium. But if they did, and the Falcons or the Panthers were to get victory, get up in there, even the Falcons for some reason were going to run, of course, that graphic suddenly changes. I get next-gen stats. It's a great thing. We can all look at the numbers. We all talk statistics. We all understand percentages. Okay, great. In fact, I'm pretty good with statistics. But just telling me the Buccaneers, after this victory over the Saints last week, now at 500 at 6-6 in the 2022 version of the NFC East, being the NFC South, telling me that I got a 92.6% chance now to lock in and make the playoffs. I'm okay with that. But I think, and please share, let me get the comments up here. I'm sorry, I haven't got comments up. I think that I don't think anybody is going to be happy. We're not happy with the fact that we can get a Buccaneers team that could 9-8, 8-9, 10-7, get 10-7 now, being at 6-6, then get 4 victories in the next 6 games. Okay, or 5 games. Beat the 49ers tomorrow. Come home and have a big showing there at Raymond James Stadium. You're going to have some Cincinnati Bengals fans traveling because the Bengals were the AFC champion last year. They represented in Super Bowl 56 against the Rams out there at SoFi, the second team in NFL history to have his home Super Bowl. But you're going to have a lot of fans there. But Bucs fans are going to represent next week. They're going to show up. They're going to lean in. And they're going to get loud. Buccaneers have victory this week. They get a victory next week against those Bengals. Now we go on the road at Christmas against those Cardinals, right? Out there in Phoenix and Arizona against the Arizona Cardinals. Then you come home, you play again against the Carolina Panthers at Raymond James Stadium, and then lock it down in Week 18, which is the 17th game for the Buccaneers, traveling to Atlanta to play those Falcons. And I'll tell you what, go back just 2 weeks ago, and you're thinking about this division and how close it is and which Buccaneers team we're going to get. Are we going to show up? We're going to get real? We're going to get serious? And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. No, I'm going to go ahead and transition that right now because I could talk about the NFC South. Okay. As we continue to, I'm not going to use the term cancel culture, although I just did, didn't I? Everybody, and what have you done for me lately? We get that. You're only as good as your last game. I get that. You got to step up every game. The next week, the most important game is the next game. We all understand that. I can't say disappointed because I feel the same things that you all feel as far as the Buccaneers go. And that is, it took 58 minutes and 57 seconds for the Buccaneers to score the go-ahead goal against the go-ahead touchdown. I'm looking at soccer up here. Go-ahead touchdown against the New Orleans Saints last week to secure that home victory, 17-16. And it was fantastic. I'm going to scoot in a little bit. And it was fantastic. Now we go out there to California, and everybody's like, well, Bowles is the best defensive coordinator. He brings up the game plan in 55 against the Kansas City Chiefs that puts Patrick Mahomes in a tizzy. Doesn't have Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. They don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. And they're trying to figure – the Bucs get that victory in 55. And then last year we make it to the divisional round of the playoffs. Playoffs? Yeah, I said playoffs. This week, though, I hear everybody – and I know y'all because I know I didn't think I was. So I got hope for you all to not just say that Todd Bowles has to be moved, cannot be the head coach of this team. And I get it. Maybe a lot of y'all, I'm going to go and say this, I'm going to piss people off. Maybe some of y'all are bandwagoners. So you only got on this bandwagon. Maybe you got on it when the Bucs won 37 out there in San Diego versus the Oakland Raiders. They were the Oakland Raiders at the time. Maybe you got on this wagon while the team was going through this dry spell before we got real hot in the last 3 years. I get it. Maybe this was your first taste of a Buccaneers team that's experienced the postseason and played great enough to get to the postseason. And ironically enough, I can't name 4 of them, but I know we got at least 2 of them last season. And, of course, Mike Evans, if you want to count a third, Hall of Fame players on the Buccaneer squad that represented in 55 or in 2020 and 2021. But we go back to 37 in 2002, and we had Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, and you know it's going to be Rondé Barber sooner or later. But this week, everybody was still, the narrative is that Todd Bowles cannot coach this team. And yeah, there were some mistakes made. I'll go back to the Cleveland Browns game. The Cleveland Browns get the first down inside the 15-yard line, and there's still just under 2 minutes left on the clock. The Bucs have all 3 timeouts. And even if you're 110% sure, I mean, you even have a genie that you rubbed the bottle and he came out and he said, you guys are going to not let them score a touchdown? Don't worry about it. Even if you had that surety, until you see it on the board 0-0-0, until you have that ball and you can run that clock out, you got to save that clock because you've got the greatest of all time at comebacks in the fourth quarter being down, and you've also got one hell of a kicker in Mr. Irrelevant Ryan Suckup. Yeah, Brock Purdy. I said Mr. Irrelevant because even though I think Purdy did great last week, and I'm not saying that the Buccaneers are going to end his career tomorrow, but I think that after the game tomorrow. In fact, I'll go over-under on this one, Harry DeGreet from 1252 Sports, the over-under. At least once tomorrow, it'll be brought up between Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I think they're the ones. No, actually, they did Monday night. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It'll be Burkhardt and Olsen doing your 425 games. They're from San Francisco. At least one of them one time is going to bring up the fact that you've got a Mr. Irrelevant in Purdy. And, of course, Buccaneers have Mr. Irrelevant in their kicker, Mr. Ryan Suckup. It's going to happen at least one time tomorrow, so we'll look forward to that. But I get it. I saw the mismanagement of the clock. I saw a coach that was coaching the entire team in Todd Bowles, but was pretty sure about what his defense would do. And we said this. I said this back then, and I know a lot of y'all agree with me because, we've been talking about these on the shows, that we saw a team that all 53 didn't really know who was running the ship. We've got a Todd Bowles coach who seems to be a little more conservative, but he can still chew us out. And we've got old coach Bruce Arians up in the ivory tower behind the tinted windows watching, or sometimes on a sideline like they're in New Orleans when he starts to fight and Evans goes after Marshawn Lattimore. And then we also have Byron Leftwich who's calling the plays. So there seemed to be a breakdown as to who was overall leading this team. And it almost felt like the warm and fuzzy of it is that you were going to, Bruce Arians hands this job off to Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is going to coach this team, going to let Byron Leftwich continue to run that offense all on his own, so that in 2023 or on, Byron Leftwich is going to be a head coach of another team. And that would be the beautiful narrative, is that tree or those roots build up and out in a coaching tree. And it wasn't working with this 2022 Buccaneers squad. And it may have been the fact that your quarterback was going through some real shit in the preseason. And it may have been the fact that your coaching staff didn't know who should drop the hammer where and when. It may have been the fact because when they're in Cleveland and they get the ball, Cleveland Browns get the ball 1st and 10, and you didn't know Njoku was going to make a miracle left-handed catch there in the end zone to win the game. When the Buccaneers get the ball back with 30 seconds on the clock and still almost get into Ryan Suckup field goal range. And that's probably the part that hurt the most about that, is because even with that mismanagement of the clock, the Buccaneers still get the ball and still get it downfield. And if they'd only had 20 to 30 more seconds, may have still been able to get in field range to get the go-ahead field goal and get the victory there in Cleveland. Didn't happen. But here's also another thing, guys, girls. I can't think of Chuck Noll, Tom Landry, going back to Don Shula, Tony Dungy, going back to John McKay. I cannot think of any coach that I didn't at one time or another see make a mistake. That happens. The reason why it was amplified here is because we still have the national media and the world media following us. We still have Tom Brady at quarterback. So obviously everything this Buccaneers squad is going to do, and the fact that we're playing in a cruddy NFC South, everything is going to be amplified. I didn't think even after that game, nowhere ever was I saying, or I think you all would honestly agree with, that Todd Bowles needed to lose his job, that this Buccaneers have to make a coaching change. They're 6-6. We wish they were 8-4. We wish they were 10-2. I mean, we wish we were rocking it like the Philadelphia Eagles or the Minnesota Vikings, who, by the way, are going to lose to the Detroit Lions tomorrow. I think it's 1.5 point. The Lions are a favorite over the Minnesota Vikings. If you want from me, if you want to know where my money's going, I'm going to take the Lions straight up, not just the 1.5 to cover. You could take the 1.5 to cover to bet on that, but what is 1.5? Close game. I like the Lions to win that game. My point is that this week, I think it's the media, people that, they depend on us to be interactive, to get involved with their shows or get involved, or maybe they want the likes, the clicks, the shares, that they pose it out there, that Todd Bowles still needs to go. They pose it out there that, this Buccaneers 20, and they're fanning flames, right? Because they realize there's some people out there that are like, well, this is the shittiest. No, listen to me. I went through Richard Williamson. I went through Lehman Bennett, Greg Schiano years, Raheem Morris, who just wasn't prepared at the time, the defensive coordinator now for the Los Angeles Rams. We went through some cruddy times with some bad coaches, and I get it. That there were times where they had to pull the plug, and they pulled it after the season after 1 or 2 years. Even Richard Williams, or even Ray Perkins, who comes in here from Alabama, comes in from the Giants. Buccaneers are sure he's going to lock it down. And it was 3 days? Really, Ray? I mean, bless you, buddy. At the time, we were hoping, well, maybe he's on to something. Everybody here in Tampa Bay is a little too laid back. Maybe we need to get a little more serious. Let's have 3 days, and let's really punish those players. And before the season even hit, oh, I got Andrew. Oh, Andrew. Ray fucking Kennedy, brother. Andrew, thanks to you, brother, from North Sports Dynasty. I should drop that. I should drop it in there for you, brother, but I'm sorry I didn't. If you'd like to come in, message me, and I'll send you the message. But I cannot stand. We talked about this last week with the 90% rule. I talk about this, and here's the thing, guys, girls. I've grown up in Tampa Bay. I've been here since 1972, okay? I don't want to say I have my finger on the pulse of the entire Bay Area or entire county, but I kind of know how we think. We don't need people to go low to try to generate some calls, try to generate some clicks, try to generate some likes, try to get those numbers. When you come at me and say that, Bowles still has to go, it's still a problem with coaching on his team. Number one, I think, A, you don't know shit about the National Football League. B, I know you don't know shit about the Tampa Bay area. And C, you don't know shit about the people that are listening to you or trying to give you guys likes right now and give you guys a job to put food on your family's table. Because we don't need that. Because you do generate those negative calls. But here's the problem, guys. Here's the problem, girls. Those negative calls you're going to generate, that's all you're going to get because you ain't going to get me to call. And maybe that doesn't bother you. I don't care. But there's a lot of us out here that actually are locking it down. We understand how this team works. We understand what it takes to be a coach in the National Football. I don't really understand that. That's got a bit of a lot. Oh, Andrew, much love. Andrew Faubert, much love, my Canadian friend. Hey, I'm sorry about Canada losing today, my friend. Actually, it was England. England lost to France. Same thing, right? I'm kidding. But I didn't like that this week because here's the thing. The problem with the Buccaneers in 2022 is, and I said this 6 weeks ago, I said this 8 weeks ago, I'll go through and get on my shows, not just to pound on me, but I'll go through and get on my shows and I'll get those sound clips, is that this problem with this 2022 Buccaneers team, they did not have an identity. And we all knew that. What's the identity of this team? Are you gritty and defensive? Are you still going to ride the Tom Brady, the greatest of all time wave? Is Tom back in here now? Is Tom ready to go? Are the guys ready to go up, climb a mountain behind Tom? Tom's running out there with the bayonet in front. Man, I saw a great movie, Emancipation, Will Smith. It's on Apple. I don't know how I transitioned from thinking about Tom Brady to that, but man, I'll tell you what, just if you haven't seen it, you have Apple TV. If you don't have Apple TV, if you know someone who does have Apple TV, call them right now, get their password, get in there and watch this. I know the whole Will Smith and how the whole thing about the Oscars and everything and what happened with Chris. Honestly, no, it wasn't Chris Tucker, but it was anyway. The whole problem with the slap and talks about Jade and he goes up there on stage. And I get he's suspended. And I know that was actually you commit. Come on, guys, help me out with a word here. You commit violence on somebody, whatever. I get that, but you watch this movie Emancipation with Will Smith, and then, of course, I don't want to give anything away because part of the reason why it was so great is because it doesn't have a twist at the end, but now you realize at the end it's all about a guy. A slave who had actually escaped and actually sought his emancipation and actually makes it. And actually, I'm not going to give any more of it away, but it was based on a true story. But what it took for these actors to dig in and get gritty and actually recreate exactly what it was like to be running for your life through the swamps of New Orleans and getting to Baton Rouge and trying to get fighting for your freedom, trying to get back to your family who you promised that you're going to get back to. Yeah. We're going to back to Tom Brady, though. The identity of this team going in here, I said it, this team did not have an identity. And I think that was and I said it was a perfect storm. Head quarterback's having problems. He's the guy that came in 2020 and said we could do it, and we did it. The other 52 were like, well, what happened to the guy who said we can do it? And now Bruce Arians is a no risk and no biscuit. Now we've got a defensive-minded coach who still has this thing that's going to let this offense run. Still going to let this team run pretty much similar to the way they ran the last 3 years, if you count the Jameis Winston 2019 year. And I'll tell you this is another reason why. Sorry, brother. Have another beer. Maybe you'll be able to knock that camera over next time. Another reason why this team had the problems the way they did is because, they ran a specific way, and now it's like it's going to be new, and we don't know who's running the ship, and we don't know who's. I don't think that Todd Bowles was confused as to who should have called those timeouts in Cleveland, but I'd like to think there's another coach involved or someone who will run out there when the Browns get that first down and go, hey, coach, call the timeouts. Because, look, even if they don't get a touchdown, which hopefully they don't, and as I already said, if Njoku doesn't catch that magical left-handed pass, they don't, then we could just kneel down 3 times and walk out of here. But just call the timeouts to have the time there in case they do. Because now if they do, And remember, we went to overtime, and of course, we lose Tristan Wirfs in overtime. And man, I think I'll go ahead and say this out there. I think it was a good thing last week to see Tristan Wirfs, even though he's in the air casket or the air cast, he's on the sidelines lifting Tom Brady up after that touchdown, and they win that game. It's like, oh, okay, well, Ryan Jensen's there too. We don't know what's going on with Ryan Jensen there, but Tristan Wirfs is there, and it's so good to see him up and around. He's not laying up somewhere. Just imagine, Bucs fans, at 6-6, the Buccaneers seem to have a lock, or at least they have a great in on the NFC South in 2022. Imagine if you get a Tristan Wirfs back, and imagine if you get a Ryan Jensen as you get toward those playoffs. So you put Jensen at center, you move Hainsey out to guard, you get Tristan back over at right tackle, which, by the way, Josh Wells filled in admirably last week in stopping them. Oh, and I wanted to mention this too. Give me a call. Oh, thank you. Harry the Berg from the over-under, Chris Rock. What the hell? What's Chris Tucker? Misador says, the identity of his team was crippled by Brady's honesty. Let's look into why BA is gone. Let me break that down, me, because you and I, in fact, let me just do one thing real quick while I'm talking. So the identity of his team was crippled by Brady. Honestly, let's look at why BA is gone. So, I get it. And I'm going to go and stay with that. So I'm going to go stay with it. I get that. So there's so many ways to unwrap that, me, because here's the thing. Bruce Arians, if it comes to pass down the road, like there's a biography, like, Antoine Winfield, Little Tweez has a biography, and he actually says that, he had inside scoop. Because remember, Bruce Arians comes in here for Jason Light, but Bruce Arians, the only reason why he comes to be here, and he brings the whole gang, he tells the Glaciers that I want Jason Light to get the exact same extension on his contract to match the 5 years that I come to coach. And I've said this a million times before. Peter Blake and I went live. Peter calls me on a Saturday morning early. It was a Saturday morning, 4 years ago, 2019. Ray, the Bucs just extended Bruce Arians' or Jason Light's contract. And I'd already been trying to tell people about Jason Light in 2014 drafts Mike Evans. But we're already 4 years into the Winston experiment, number one overall. And people are realizing that's not the guy maybe moving forward for the rest of the I'm going to see if you can see a Jolly Trolley in this shot. Hold on a second. Stay with me. There it is. Excuse steps of beer. Peter Blake calls me and says, Ray, the Bucs just extended Jason Light's contract to match the new 5 year they gave Bruce Arians. We're going live. Let's do this. Let's report it. And we did. We reported it. And we did all the facts. The drafting this team, and Ali Marpet, Mike Evans, the things that Jason Light was doing to put this team together. And now Bruce Arians comes in, no risk it, no biscuit. And it was early on. It was in 2019. The season hadn't even started yet. But people, maybe the same, you know what? Maybe it's the same assholes that this week were talking about how Todd Bowles had to be fired as coach, even though you're at 6-6, which isn't the good part, but you're in first place in the South, and you look like you might be getting healthy for the postseason. Probably the same people that are doing that were the same ones back in 2019 that were saying that Jason Light had to go. Because then all of a sudden Tom Brady comes in, and Tom brought in Gronk, come on in Fournette and get your attitude right. But holy shit, the Buccaneers are Super Bowl champions. So it turns out Jason Light's been putting a team together that could win a Super Bowl, and they did in 55. They're in a home game with the Buccaneers beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So what I'm working it to is the fact that we had to make an excuse that day for Jay. Not to make an excuse, but we had to report. Hey, everybody, here's all the negative. I get it, okay? Jameis Winston, he's not the guy. We're bringing in Bruce Arians to hope to fix the guy, and Bruce Arians is going to make things right. And Tom Brady was still a year away, but, let's look at those facts. This is a solid team that Jason Light's been putting together. We've got some great pieces here. Had an up-and-coming defense who it really didn't show under Mike Smith as the defensive coordinator. But then all of a sudden over here, everybody was saying, you can't give Jason Light a contract extension. He doesn't deserve it. He's a shitty, kind of like John Robinson, of course, the GM of the Tennessee Titans, who was fired this week, came from the Buccaneers, was under Jason Light here, went out there, did a phenomenal job. A.J. Brown, why did he trade him? I don't know. You got Derrick Henry at running back. You got Ryan Tannehill on a $125 million contract to either hand off to Derrick Henry or fake the handoff and play action to pass. But without A.J. Brown, they lose their best receiver. And I think the worst part of that was the fact that they traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles are rocking now. But You know what, me? I just did a real roundabout argument to say I think you're right. I get it. But I think that it was also what I was trying to say is that I think it was crippled in more ways than one because I'll be honest with you, if Tom Brady wasn't going through those family problems at the beginning of the season, he was here throughout the entire preseason, locking it in, and he got time with these receivers, and he could build their confidence. And Todd Bowles had an idea of exactly what this team was going to look like under him as a head coach with his conservative style because he's a defensive first coach. You can't doubt that. Bruce Arians is an offensive-minded coach. He was an offensive coordinator, quarterback's coach with the Colts and offensive coordinator with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Goes out and head coach brings in Palmer and has all those great years out there in Arizona with the Cardinals. Offensive-minded coach. Todd Bowles, even in getting to the Jets to the postseason in his first year as coach, but it was the system was torn apart out there because they were making some really bad decisions with personnel out there in New York Jets. They're still trying to put that team together. They still go out and draft Zach Wilson in the first round, number 2. I'm not going to make an excuse for that. But I think that if you have Tom Brady there the entire preseason and Bowles is able to, sit back like he does, because this is what Todd Bowles does, right? He crosses those arms, and they're able to say, oh, this is how this team's going to work. Oh, Tom Brady's going to run the offense like this. Bowles is still going to coach it conservatively. I was doing that because some lady was – they always walk by like, who is that guy? And they look back and they're like, man, I don't know, buddy. I've never seen him on YouTube. Never seen one of his reels. Do me a favor. All of you that are watching, I got huge numbers. Share this show. It's a Saturday night thing. I'm taking Sunday off. I got a lot going on. Mom's actually, for those of you who know, when you're asking, Mom's moving from the hospital over to the rehab. She's getting better by the day. Guess she went up there today. She had a nice half a sub from Delco's. Tristan, how good were those subs? Tristan, how good were those steak subs from Delco's? They're good, right? Yeah, I had some steak and cheese subs from Delco's, but Mom's doing okay. Got a lot to do, so I thought I'd come drop this thing on a Saturday night. Tristan and I were taking a ride up there, heading up to Dunedin, and of course, we're going to stop by the Pelican course there out in Bel Air because tonight is the match. And if you guys and girls don't know about this, starts at actually, I think 5:30 or 6. No, pre-show starts at 6 on TNT, and then at 6:30 under the lights out there, right up here in Bel Air, just about 30 minutes that way, 25 maybe if you take the interstate. You got Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy versus Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, 2-on-2, the match 2022. Probably, they're having it now. If you could have it in the spring, or maybe out with what was going on with Tom Brady, with retiring, unretiring, what's going on, and whatever. They may have approached Tom Brady for all we know. I'm going to go ahead and say this since I'm still waiting for y'all to get some comments in here. Thanks again, me, for the comment. What happened between Tom and Giselle? It wasn't just because Tom comes back for his 23rd season or his 3rd season as Buccaneers quarterback. I can guarantee you that if I know anything, and I do not know much, but a marriage doesn't fall apart just because someone decides they're going for a 23rd season. A marriage doesn't fall apart because you can't jump down to Brazil or you can't go build that house in Miami, and because Stephen Ross tried to corner him on a boat there and get Tom Brady to go down there and Sean Payton to be coach with the Miami. A marriage just doesn't end because you got to spend one more year here in paradise, which, by the way, how is it? I took this shot so y'all could see the sunset, trying to get that, even though the sun's now moved to that sky. I love how the sky changes light, so I'm going to stay with y'all until either someone knocks my camera over, which has already happened almost twice. It didn't happen just because of that. This has been going on for a while, and I don't want to say it's because Tom and I do lunch every Tuesday. That I have inside scoop. I'm not gonna divulge any personal information I have. It didn't just happen because of that. It's been going on for a while. And the reason why I say that is because then when the preseason comes in, oh, look at this son of a gun. Yeah, he's got a moving camera, but I got to bring my guy in here from the Sports Web. I'm using this thing. You're gonna see it when I bring up the back graphics. The Spider Web. It's the Spider-Man, Mr. Peter Blake. Peter, how are you, my friend?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good. I hear you good. I'm just getting some off my chest. Tell me, Peter, I know you and I talked about this. You're here all week, even though the Bucs go to 6-6 and they got a lock on first place to go out to Frisco this week, now tomorrow to play at 425 against those 49ers. The mood of the Bay Area still seems to be, oh, we won, but, Coach Bowles is still a problem.
Coach Bowles is still a problem. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it does come down to coaching. They got to do a better job of that. They haven't necessarily done that. this year, in my opinion. I mean, it always goes back to not only play calling by this offensive staff, but also, time management, and it hasn't necessarily worked out into their favor. So, were they fortunate for Tom Brady? Absolutely. Did they put themselves in a great position to win that game versus the Saints? Absolutely. But now they've got to reciprocate, if you will, the same type of deal against the San Francisco 49ers, which consequently is the number one defense in the National Football League in most categories, if not all categories. So is it on coaching? Absolutely. In my opinion, it's definitely on coaching, because they would probably have more wins. And this goes back to a couple weeks ago with the Cleveland Browns, calling those timeouts, because who knows? You put the ball in Tom Brady's hands, at the end of the day, you feel a lot better, don't you? I mean, 44 times in his career in the fourth quarter, by the way, surpassing Peyton Manning, coming back, taking this team back, taking his teams back in his career. I don't know why you wouldn't have that confidence in him. And by the way, I'm outside here at Verizon. I don't know if you caught that post that I put out there. I changed my consumer account to a business account and saved myself all kinds of money, with also upgrading the internet that I previously had. So
now, does Verizon also give you still the free monthly subscription to Grindr? I'm just kidding, Pete.
No, that would be your account, my friend, because you mentioned it and you would know all about that.
Oh, look at me. I'm Todd Bowles. Pete, did we put enough on tape last week in the last few minutes against them? Well, no, let me ask you first. We saw Ian Rappaport post that because Cam Jordan went to a knee last week, there's fines being handed out. Is that just splitting hairs? Why is that occurring, and why is that news?
Why is what occurring?
The Cam Jordan goes to a knee and fakes the injury so they can stop the clock on that last drive where the Bucs are scoring a go-ahead touchdown. I mean, doesn't this happen all the time in the NFL?
All the time, but they wanted to crack down on it the last couple months, and they've seen it happen more and more. You saw it happen a couple weeks ago in the Buffalo Bills game. So the Bucs at that point had all the momentum. I don't think this is really shocking, because the Saints have done this. They've done this type of thing before with their organization. Cam Jordan is a guy that's not necessarily the best. They're trying to gain an advantage at the end of the day. Why is this shocking? It's not, but I guess the shocking thing to everybody is that the NFL has basically cracked down on it, and by the tune of $550,000 total. So that'll teach players, and that will teach teams from doing this. And not only did they fine Jordan, but they also fined Dennis Allen, and they fined the defensive coordinator. So they were definitely privy to it. They did it on purpose, because at the end of the day, the Bucs had all the momentum, and Tom Brady was moving with that 2-minute offense. So,
let me ask you this, Pete. Now, we know about Purdy coming in there, and I'm not saying that I love Baker Mayfield now having that great success on Thursday night, leading the Rams back to victory over the Raiders. I have no doubt that Kyle Shanahan, people don't forget, when Kyle Shanahan was under his dad, Mike Shanahan, in Washington, they drafted RG3, but they also drafted Kirk Cousins in the 4th round. I mean, these guys know how to develop quarterbacks, but Brock Purdy tomorrow against the Buccaneers defense. The Bucs have shown now they'll pull Vea back in coverage, and they'll blitz from the outside. We'll blitz from the inside. I think Todd Bowles can scheme to beat a Purdy, even though we think that the 49ers can play a conservative game plan and still have success against this Bucs defense. What are your thoughts about tomorrow's Bucs 49ers matchup?
Well, it comes down to you would think you would have an advantage right over Mr. Irrelevant. He played well. Of course, the 49ers are going to ask him to just get the ball to his weapons in the Deebo Samuel, of course, the Christian McCaffrey. What you have to worry about is, with the Bucs offense, they've been so inconsistent this year, 3 and outs, 3 for 47 when they have longer than a 3rd and 10. So that's got to change. You got to make those situations manageable when it comes to first down, and hopefully the Bucs can do that tomorrow. You can't make mistakes. Honestly, you have to play a perfect game, because San Francisco is one of those teams right now that is definitely in that Super Bowl conversation.
By the way, your shot looks incredible right now. Whatever you just did, it looks good, brother. Thanks for jumping in on me. I wanted to ask about tomorrow's game. With the expected weather is for a lot of rain, and we see that there's a lot of snow expected out there, Midwest and all, and obviously it's because it's a system. So if it is terrible, rainy, nasty weather, hey, brother, how you feel? Good to see you. typical candlestick weather, but now it's Levi Stadium. Does that give the Buccaneers advantage in not slowing Bosa down, but maybe being able to slow it? If the offense gets stuck in a quagmire and these receivers, they're not running these patterns that maybe Purdy's had a chance to get used to, doesn't that help the Buccaneers and give them an advantage or no?
If they run the ball. They have to run the ball. They have to play ugly football, especially with the conditions that would warrant it. If it's raining tomorrow, if there's conditions like that, that would definitely favor the Bucs. But, have they been able to run the ball? Have they been able to be balanced? They have not been able to be balanced this year. And, throwing the ball last game 54 times is not going to help you out. I get it. San Francisco, right now they're banged up. And we'll see if Nick Bosa is even going to play in this game, because that would be a major loss for the 49ers. Looking at the matchup, Bosa versus a Donovan Smith, who, by the way, is the most penalized player in the National Football League. That would definitely go a long way if he's hurt. But if he isn't hurt, that matchup is going to be a nightmare at the end of the day. Going back to your question, the only way it helps, and I think this is the game plan, they have to establish the run. Is Lenny going to play in the game? It doesn't seem like he's going to. He has a foot problem. So the onus is going to be on Rashard White, White, and also Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, you alluded to the fact that Donovan Smith, the most penalized player in the league, and I think this is because, Bucs fans, because we know he's protecting Tom Brady's backside. Because, Donovan Smith, he's not going to let his guy get past him. Every time I say Tom Brady, someone walking by goes, yeah, Tom Brady. But, the thing is, you're talking about running game having to be success there in New Orleans. Yeah. In Frisco. And I tell you what, talking about the Buccaneers run game in 2022, everybody says that the offense has been too predictable. But I went back and I'm looking at some of the tape, right? I'm not breaking down the all 22s, but I'm looking at the same, because we're calling the same plays they called for the last 2 years. They've been working. The problem is that because of the injuries on the offensive line, defenders are blowing up the offensive line, and by their very nature, they're stopping that run. Buccaneers have shown they'll run it outside, but that hasn't worked all the time too. So, Peter, if you're calling a running plays for the Buccaneers tomorrow, what kind of things are you trying to do to get those big yards to keep those drives going?
Well, I'm not running on first down unless I'm ultra successful. And at the end of the day, we know that you can't settle for losing yardage on first down, or furthermore, not only losing yardage on first down, but only gaining 1 or 2 yards, because at that point, it makes you kind of one-dimensional. You're not going to run the ball again. You're going to try to pass the ball, because going back to that statistic, they are 3 for 47 when third downs are longer than 3rd and 10. So you got to keep the manageable situations. They were able to do a better job of that versus the Saints going 8 for 15. So we'll see if they can carry that on. To answer your question, if you're not successful on first down running the ball and you're not at least getting 4 to 5 yards, go past play action, because we know that Brady can do that. You can freeze those linebackers. You can change it up, because once you start becoming so predictable, then defensive coordinators and defenses alike are going to start picking up on it. The screen pass is not working when defensive coordinators are expecting it. And furthermore, the run game is not going to work if you're only getting 1 or 2 yards. You have to make that opposing defense respect what you're doing offensively. And you also have to keep those third downs manageable, because we've seen this year, once again, 3 for 47 when it's 3rd and 10 or longer.
Do we see it? We're talking about this. We go heavy with the jumbo package. Package. Put a Giovanni Bernard. We get Giovanni off the milk carton in the backfield tomorrow, and put him in there with a shot Rashad White. Now you got two running backs in the backfield that can both run the ball and can also both receive out of the backfield. I think that also opens up the options for this Buccaneers offense tomorrow. No?
No, definitely, absolutely. We'll see who plays tomorrow. We'll see if he's ready to go, because they've been excited about getting him ready. Of course, we don't know if he's going to be a kick returner tomorrow or a punt returner, because they cut Jalen Darden. Thank God for that, because he basically provided nothing for this Bucs team at all besides either going down on the ground like the little old lady from "I've fallen and I can't get up" commercial, or running out of bounds. That's just not going to get you anywhere at the end of the day. And of course, this organization decided to upgrade that position. We'll see who it's going to be. Is it going to be Scotty Miller? Is it going to be Giovanni Bernard? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't look at that, but you got to have field position. You can't continue to have 80, 90-yard drives, 16, 17. You got to start getting some big plays, and you also got to start working on that field position, which is lacked this year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I saw, Jalen Darden. I kept wanting to root for that guy. I mean, he had speed, but man, and
Sure.
this season especially, every time he gets the ball and he runs to the sideline, it just looked to me like someone that was like, I came out of North Texas. I don't know how I got here, but these guys are a lot bigger and a lot faster than I was planning for, and he was being a conservative. But Buccaneers defense now. You got Akeem Hicks back in there, and you got Vita Vea. You had Vea dropping back in coverage last week as they were throwing some things at Andy Dalton that he hadn't seen. And now we got a rookie. We got an undrafted. We got Mr. Irrelevant, the very last draft pick of 2022. What are the Buccaneers? What things can the Buccaneers defense do tomorrow to keep this San Francisco 49ers offense on their heels?
Change up the looks. You got to change up your looks. You got to have exotic looks. They had that versus Andy Dalton. You saw Vita Vea play some zone defense. You saw them do some different things. And at the end of the day, you can't generate that pressure rushing fours. So you have to get very creative with that. You have to bring your linebackers. You have to bring your safeties. They've been very successful the last couple of weeks there with Keanu O'Neal. They found something with that. And once again, you're going to probably be down with this injury situation in that back end, being without a Mike Edwards and Antoine Winfield Jr., and of course, the Sean Murphy Bunting. So to answer your question, you got to get pressure on that quarterback.
Yes.
And that has been difficult. They've had a difficult time with beating rookie and backup quarterbacks. They shouldn't have that much difficulty. Hopefully Todd Bowles and that defensive coaching staff can cook up something tomorrow to confuse the rookie a lot.
And that's why I like you make that point, because the Buccaneers defense have never, in all of his years in Carolina, this Buccaneers defense and the stout play against the rush, we've never had problems shutting down McCaffrey. And I can imagine that, Kyle Shanahan's out there right now in a hotel there in San Francisco, and he's like, all right, the Bucs defense is going to try to drop back and be conservative. So we're going to hit him with a bunch of We're going to hit him with a bunch of McCaffrey to pick up the grunge yards. So I don't think this Buccaneers defense, especially on the road there against a pretty formidable 49ers team, we can't afford to play conservative. I think you want to play smart, but you got to get the pressure on that quarterback and still stop the run. And that's been the Buccaneers' MO. And that's why I still have quite a bit of confidence in the Buccaneers having success out there tomorrow versus these 49ers.
They certainly can have success, but of course the onus has to be on stopping the run game. Of course, it starts with Christian McCaffrey and it ends with Deebo Samuel, and you know that you're going to see some end arounds. You know that Kyle Shanahan is going to get very creative. So those are the two players you have to stop. Not only that, you have Greg Kittle at tight end. You have Brandon Ayuk. So it's not like they don't have a plethora, of weapons. At the end of the day, you're going to have to shut down that run game. And for me, that's the key to this game. Once again, as always, with this Buccaneer defense, if your staple is to shut down the run game, that's what you got to do, especially tomorrow. Put the ball in this guy's hands and see if he can win it for you. That's what the 49ers don't want you to do. They basically want you. They want to run the ball. They want to keep it balanced. They want to simplify the offense for this quarterback at the end of the day because he is a rookie. But what you got to do as a Bucs defense, you got to make them one-dimensional.
Hey, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes. Can
Verizon,
you hear me?
No, that was a Verizon shout-out because you're at Verizon. Brother,
yes.
Thanks for jumping in here with me. I'm going to leave you with this last question if I can.
Sure.
We're going. Burkhardt and Olsen are taking it to post game. We're getting ready to rush it over onto Sunday Night Football, and the Buccaneers beat the 49ers. Which unit of this Buccaneers team will be the one that has the biggest impact in a victory over these 49ers tomorrow in San Francisco?
I think it has to be your defense at the end of the day, right? I mean, your defense has to set the tone. But, of course, it always goes back to Tom Brady and these weapons. Can they score more than 17 to 18 points a game? Can they run the ball efficiently? Can they do a better job when it comes to the red zone? If they can do that, then certainly they can win this game. They could beat any team in the National Football League, but they have to play a lot better than they have the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I think that player of the game tomorrow, well, obviously, if the player of the game is Buccaneer, it's probably because of victory. But you got Carl Nassib on the left side, of course, filling in for, whatever. Wish we'd had Shaq Barrett for this game. This is one we'd like to have Shaq back for, right?
Sure.
Then you got Joe Tryon-Shoyinka over there on the right-hand side. Logan Hall makes an appearance in last week's game. He's starting to come on strong, and you got Hicks and you got Vea in the middle there. But like you said, with Deebo Samuels and the speed on this San Francisco 49ers offense, they're going to run those end-arounds and those trick plays. But as long as those Buccaneer defensive line corners hold their positions and force it inside, I think that Levante David and Devin White can sweep the porch, and the Bucs can get a victory tomorrow. Brother, thanks for joining me here today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Always glad to be on. A couple, Ray here, my buddy, Mr. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay, and you're exactly right. JTS, he got his reps cut in half last week. They're running more Nelson, more Nassib, and that's because Joe Tryon-Shoyinka doesn't know how to play the run, and he's a liability somewhat in coverage. So at this point, you're looking at a one-dimensional player that can get after the quarterback, hasn't got after the quarterback enough. That's why they love running Ryan Nassib. That's why, or not Ryan Nassib, Carl Nassib. And that's why they love running an Anthony Nelson. And that's what they're going to continue to do to generate that pressure at the end of the day, because those players in a Nassib and a Nelson have more, they're more flexible, right? I mean, they can play the run. They're not as, one dimensional as JTS at this point.
I'm going to give you Tampa Bay Times front page covers, front page or front sports page, the headline. Mr. Irrelevant becomes very irrelevant. Ryan Suckup kicks winning field goal and walk-off. Bucs defeat the 49ers 24-22. What do you think?
I like it. I like the more of fact of the Bucs defense really makes Mr. Irrelevant tomorrow in San Francisco. You like that?
That's love good. It, brother. Hey, so I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow morning on 1252 Sports, the over/under with Hayward Greek.
Yes, sir. It's, of course, the evolution of sports talk television, the Sports Web Live on the post-game edition. 3 things. Bring the passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your Rolex reporter, Peter Blake. What time is it? It's my time. And, hey, couple Ray fans, it's your time.
I love you, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
I'll tell you what, one of the reasons, and this is an inside joke, you guys and girls that you've been following, of course, Peter and I started doing the pre halftime and post game shows from right here down at the world famous Ferg's Sports Bar and Grill out here on Central Avenue, just below 16th Street in the Edge district of St. Petersburg. Started doing that 6 years ago. We've been doing it since then, but I love it. One of the funny things is not funny for me though, but I mean funny for me actually is that bring the passion, bring the excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. And of course, I always brought the nonsense, but that's the reason why Peter Blake and I were simpatico. Let's see here. Aunt Musador says, Andrew Faubert, Logan. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. There's other comments. Ben Cornett says, Bucs need a 2-score lead to start the game. 49ers aren't built offensively to come back. San Francisco likes to play ahead early. 100% Ben. Ben zone. If you're not catching the Ben zone on Saturday nights, got to catch Ben zone. The Ben zone. Control the clock and play great defense throughout. Also, the 49ers linebackers, Greenlaw and Warner, are just as good as Levante and David. And that's a true statement. I think you do need to get the score. Number one, you get that Levi Stadium crowd out of it because those 49er fans, they're going to be rocking tomorrow. But I tell you, there's so many great things about covering the Bucs and doing these shows and being tuned in and having, insides sometimes and scoops and having, people can tell me, break news for me. Sometimes I can run with it. Sometimes I can't run with it. But one of the great things about building this social network, which is why I'm asking, guys and girls, please share the show here. Even if up to now you haven't laughed, I'll try to get you to laugh between now and the end of the show. But it helps to build this online community, right? Because a lot of people have said, well, Ray, a lot of your fans, people that watch Cup of Ray are, they're not like the younger crowd. And I'm like, no, they're not. I mean, I see a lot of people that are younger, but they're of the older crowd, and they don't like to share as much. They don't trust this process. They don't understand that sharing doesn't mean you're giving anyone your personal information. All you're doing is sharing this content with somebody else, and you're also helping me to grow this thing. I said, no, you're full of shit. We're smart enough to understand it. In fact, we're the ones who invented the internet. We're the ones who created this internet to give you guys and girls a chance to be able to share things and tweet and, do your reels. But one of the things I've liked the most about this is that I'm also tuned in now. I've got a lot of friends in my network, and I'm also friends in other people's networks with people that are out there, Bucs fans that are out there in San Francisco, and I love it. Guys, girls, don't stop sharing. Don't stop doing it. I know you're posting, and if you're like me, you figure the worst thing that's happened, you're posting, and a year from now, you'll get a break on it. They'll say, hey, here's a memory from 2022. No. vicariously living right here I am. And I see my boys and my girls jumping on the airplanes and they're flying to the West Coast and they're going out for the game tomorrow. I've seen you all represent in Cleveland. I've seen you represent out in New Orleans. I love it. I've always known. I've been in New Orleans. I went and saw that in 2002. I went and saw the Bucks the very first year they played in the South. Wife of Kathleen and I, with a Thanksgiving dinner that Thursday night, we went 275, made a left on I-10, went out there for the Bucks Saints game that Sunday night. And my little joke there is, the Saints won that night, but we won 37, got our first championship in team history. So I wasn't worried about that. But keep sharing, keep posting. I love it. But please share and help me build this thing so we can continue to have a great time. Love that. But good comments, Ben. I'm going to go above that. Make sure I didn't miss anything else. Oh, right here. Ben Cornett says, "Do you show the Verizon? Did you show Verizon Rolex feeder?" Pete Misador says, "Bucks don't have enough, unfortunately." Me, I don't know what you're talking about there, but I'll get back there. Ben Cornett says, "Wouldn't it be something if Brady and Otten recreate the catch?" Oh shit, Ben. I mean, of course, the big thing is Tom Brady. And I'm glad you went there, Ben, because it works me into my next segue. But Tom Brady was there when Joe Montana connects with Dwight Clark for the catch. I want to say it was 87. Seems like it was too soon. Maybe it was 90. But, of course, the catch, he's there for that. And so right there, if Tom Brady, of course, because and the thing I love about that, Ben, is it goes parallel because wasn't that pass, that first touchdown last week against those Niners, or against those Saints, wasn't that a Gronkowski pass? Wasn't that exactly like you saw with a Brady to Gronkowski? Of course, Brady throws his 200th touchdown to tight ends of all time. A lot of those, or most of those, went to a Gronkowski. Some went to Hernandez. We won't go there. But when Otten, and he talked about the fact that him and Tom worked on that in practice that week, that, blocking down, getting mixed in, and then veering out, and Tom goes out. So when you say that, Ben Cornett, from the Ben zone, wouldn't it be something if Brady not recreate the catch for game-winning drive like Montana and Dwight Clark did? 100%. And the reason why I'm glad you said that is because I hadn't had a chance to ask you guys, girls. I'm going to come back to that. Remind me, Joe Montana and Tom Brady in a moment. David Moser says, "Dave, good to see you, brother. I know everybody's going to say I'm crazy, but I say on these third and short yardage, we bring Blaine Gabbert. We bring in Blaine. That way, if we need a quarterback to run a few yards for the first down, he can do it instead of throwing in the dirt and punting. I get it, but and I guess Kyle Trask probably isn't dressed because whatever. But yeah, why not bring Blaine Gabbert in? And if for nothing else, just like kind of something like what the Bucks, what the Saints did with Taysom Hill. You bring in a Taysom Hill, you bring in a Blaine Gabbert. They're sure that you brought in a younger guy, which Blaine's not a whole lot younger than Tom. Tom's 75, and I think Blaine is 69. I'm kidding, but of course, Blaine Gabbert, a great player, former first-round pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm not going to go into his history. I've done it a few times here on Cup of Ray. But you bring in a Blaine Gabbert, just if nothing else, maybe it makes the Niners call a timeout. Because they're like, WTF, what's going on here? Why did they bring in Blaine Gabbert? Is he going to run? Is he going to pass? Is he going to hand it off? And maybe that's some of that, because here's the thing. If the Buccaneers, because of the injuries to the offensive line, are going to be so predictable, and let's be honest, guys and girls, they've been very predictable at times this year, which is why some of these teams are stopping them, which is why we've been getting pissed off about it, which is why some of you are very stupidly, and I'm going to say stupidly, I hate to use the word stupid, but I'm going to say stupidly calling for Todd Bowles' job. Todd Bowles is going to be good. Trust me. If I'm going, like I said, I watched Emancipation this morning. Not a great comparison because it's war and it's death. But if I'm going into battle and I got a leader like Todd Bowles, former professional defensive back, former player at Temple for Bruce Arians, but already locking it down and showing what he can do, the kind of leader he can be, he's got some growing pains to go. But let's be honest again, Todd Bowles, it's your team. Bruce Arians, I'm stepping aside. Tom Brady's back. Whether it be because Tom Brady said it, I'll come back if Arians isn't there or not. Let's go ahead and we'll say that. Some people are arguing that or saying that. Whatever the reason, I'm stepping aside, Todd. It's your team. But you still have the greatest of all time at quarterback. Byron Leftwich is still your OC. He's pretty much calling the offense. Do whatever you want on the defense side. Go. And you go into a season like that, and maybe that's been Todd Bowles. That was Todd Bowles' biggest mistake up until now, is saying, this is my team. Yo, bitches, this is my team. I'm the HC. I'm the head coach. I'm the guy in charge. I'm the one whose ass is on the line. So we can do all this pretty stuff, and we got Julio Jones and Mike Evans and bury the lead, the best receiver in the National Football League, and Chris Godwin. We got a decent running game. We got an offensive line that's injured. I'm the guy who's making the call. And the reason why I make that point is because I go back to the Saints game last week. 4th down, 4th and 10. There's 5 minutes left in the game. Tom Brady wants to stay on the field. Todd Bowles goes, get your ass to the sideline. We're going to punt. And a lot of y'all had already bailed on the game before then. And I get that. It's a Monday. We're working. We got to do our hustle too. I'm not putting you down. I'm not calling you out. There's a couple of things that went into the reason why I saw the entire game, but I'm glad I did. Tom Brady wanted to go for it, and Buccaneer fans, those of you that are watching, those of you in the stadium, when they bring the punt team out, you booed. I'm not putting you down because I'd have been right there. Well, boy, what the we kind of do this. We've already shown we don't know clock management. Todd Bowles makes the call, punts the ball. We get him down there. The rest is Buccaneers history. I'm putting that Monday Night Victory. You know what? Finally. The Indianapolis Colts, when Peyton Manning and Tony Dungy came back against us and scored like 38 points in the fourth quarter, and they beat us that Monday night game. That Monday night game, how we scored 2 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes, we beat the Saints. It wipes away that Indianapolis Monday night game. I hadn't thought about that till right now, but excuse me. My voice is gone. Ben Cornett says, Bucks need – okay, we already got this one. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate you. Glad I remember to get to the comments. It's crazy you're out on the street having a good time. Andrew Volbert says, here's the main question. Where the heck has Cameron Hall been besides taking Jensen out? Well, is he even on a team? I mean, you know, it was 6 minutes into the very first day of practice, and he gets blocked in, and he rolls up on the back of Jensen's leg, injures Jensen. Jensen's still out. Good question. I don't think just because you injured our best offensive lineman, which Tristan Wirfs actually was all pro at right tackle, but just because you took out our starting center, and you may have, hurt the Buccaneers' chances in 2020. Oh, wait, they play in the NFC South, so they're not that hurt. I don't think it means you automatically get playing time, but maybe they killed the guy. Misador says, package backfield running, elite blocker at Bosa, just keep him honest. I mean, and here's the thing. You want Vea on that defensive line. Put a tight end back there. I mean, if O'Keefe, if you and the Bucs have done this, if you got O'Keefe practicing at fullback or halfback or whatever, and make Bosa pay. I mean, here's the thing. Here's the way the NFL works. Here's the way high school. Here's the way college football works. Here's the way Little League football works. I'm a coach of a Little League team. I'm a coach of a high school, college, or NFL team. I go out there and I want to find the chink in your armor right off the bat. Well, here's the deal. Bury the lead. Nick Bosa is not a chink in the armor, but he's going to be the guy that's stepping up, trying to take over this defensive line and make the stop for the Buccaneers. Oh, that's your guy? Okay. Bosa's playing on the left side. We're going to run a 24. We're going to run a 24 dive. We're going to put O'Keefe in the up back and Co take his fucking head off. Oh, playing on the right side. Okay, we're going to Cam Brate. You've had some head things, so let's give you a little time. We're going to bring in another player, a defensive lineman, or anybody who you've practiced with at the halfback position. And I'm going to run off. And here's what this run may not pick up a whole lot of yards, but you make sure, and if it's not Bosa, whoever else is Wagner or whoever's the linebacker, whoever sticks their head up highest to try to stop this play, you knock them in the next week. You knock their fucking block off. That's the way you play football. And that's what was missing from the Buccaneers in 2022. Levante last week shows up. Devin got bored. This defense was lost. The offense was reeling. Who's running this team? Jake Camarda's been the MVP in 2020. Now we got it. And it's not just because of that victory. I'm telling you guys and girls, I saw it on a sideline last week. Todd Bowles, Byron Leftwich, why he's over congratulating Tom on the win. Why Blaine Gabbert's walking by. You got Ryan Griffith, he had to put the clipboard down to give Tom a hug. This team now realizes that, guess what? All 53 have to be on the same page, and that page is probably going to be a little more conservative than it was under No Risk It, No Biscuit Bruce Arians. We got Todd Bowles in charge now. That's my hat. Todd Bowles, very lead, running one of the best defenses in the National Football League. We got to all buy in. They're buying in. Now, they're buying in as we go on the road across the country to play West Coast against one of the best teams in the National Football Conference, the San Francisco 49ers, who are starting Mr. Irrelevant at quarterback. So this game I mean, there's a lot of reasons why the Bucks may have a problem against the Niners, but there's a lot of reasons why the Buccaneers should come back 7-6 with even firmer grip on the NFC South. So stay tuned. I'm loving it. But yeah, great comment, me. Why wouldn't I be surprised from you, me? Andrew Faubert, Logan Hall. Was Logan Hall the one that went up in the back of Johnson's leg because he got blocked into him? David Moses says for us to run the ball better, we need to get a true fullback, not a tight end. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I can go over. I'm going to run over to Countryside, Northside Mustangs. Head football coach there. We can see if Mike Allstott will come back and play. But I think about that. I know I alluded to back earlier in the show about people who, because here's the thing about you got old schoolers in the 90s, which some days I feel like it, that have been with this team. They were in their 30s when the Bucks were, incepted in the 70s. Of course, I was only 5 or 7 at my first Bucks game in 76. But now you got, 20-year-olds and 15-year-olds, and now my kids are in their teens. And so that's the most beautiful thing about having the love of a sports franchise, having the love of an NFL team or an MLB team as the Rays are going to get a new stadium just across the street from the world famous Ferg Sports. I'm going to try it later. One of the most beautiful things about this is that we're all different ages. And the reason why I do my thing, one of the reasons why I get this passion, one of the reasons I'm going to throw a little shout out to Keith Larson, who's running the Bucks Report. When Keith first came to me and said, would you like to do a show? You got an idea? And I said, I like this concept. It's Cup of Ray. And yeah, it's more of an excuse for just me to spew my mouth, but because I've been here since 76 and, I don't care if you came on in 2020 when we won the Super Bowl. I don't care if you came on in 2015 when we drafted Jameis and he wasn't the guy, but you stuck around and we got Tom Brady who was behind door number 2. It doesn't matter if you came in when we traded a first round pick for the throwing Samoan Jack Thompson in 1983. We all jumped in here at special times, but I like to talk about the history of this team. And I have no idea where I was going with that. Let me read the comment. Talking about Mike Allstott. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to wax on that another time. Keep commenting. I got some jokes for y'all. David Miller says Army's beating Navy 7-3 at half. And I'm watching the Lightning are up 1-0 on a Florida Panthers here. They're wearing a special uniform, 30th anniversary uniform. I see Vasilevsky in goal wearing a special uniform. And that's the thing about being down here at the world famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. Yeah, I'm going to say it. That's just down here on Central Avenue, just below 16th Street in the Edge District of St. Petersburg. The food's phenomenal. The crowd's phenomenal. It kind of emptied out a little bit from the soccer game between France and England, but now I see people coming back in tonight. I see some people walking in with their PGA hats, and they've got their top flight hats. They're coming in they got the Lightning game on up here against the Panthers up 1-0. Well, now it's the National Predators. My bad. So it's Lightning are 1-0 over the National Predators. And then you got the golf coming on there on TNT at 6 o'clock. And then, tonight I think we have a fight coming on tonight too. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you guys and girls this warning right now. If you're coming out here to watch football on a Sunday, get here early, get your table, get your spot. Because there's like 95 TVs here. You won't have a problem finding a place to have a great view of the game. And bury the lead. The Bucks are on every other television because we as Buccaneer fans. But come down here, get a spot. It's outside. It's the most beautiful time in Florida right now. I'm going to go ahead and do this right here. This is more of a commercial for Secret. Yeah, underarms, right? Look at that. No sweat. This is how beautiful it is right here now. You come out on a Sunday, you come in and you watch the Bucks game. Now, it's a 4 o'clock game, which means you're going to be out here. It's 5:01 right now. We'd be getting to there'd be 5 minutes left in the first quarter. Bucks are up 10-0, right, Ben? So get out here, get your tables, get your food. There's going to be a huge crowd at 1 o'clock, but then swiggle in here. They got the party deck out back, huge outside there where the pirate ship is. Big TV out there. And this time of day now with the sun setting earlier, that big TV out there, the big Jumbotron in the back there, you can get a spot. And you can, in fact, if you park your car in the right spot, you could actually sit and eat and drink beer from your car and watch the game. That's the world famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. Best of the Bay. Why wouldn't you want to come here? I can hear the band's starting to warm up. We're going to have a live band here in a few minutes. Ben Cornett says, damn, Winfield will be vital to have tomorrow, especially if we're going to have extra blitzer coming from the backfield. He would be, wouldn't he, Ben? David Moser says, to me, Tryon hasn't done enough this season to impress me at all. Nassib has done more in my eyes. 100%. I mean, Nassib comes back in here, and I mean, Barry the lead also at the end of the day. Nassib's, I got to bring this guy in right now. I just see him jumping in my lobby. I already introduced him, talked about it with Peter Blake. We're going to see him tomorrow on the over-under on 1252 Sports. Of course, if I'm talking about 1252 Sports, I'm talking about my guy, Harry the Greek from the over-under. Harry, how are you today, my friend?
What's happening, Ray? How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Let me move a little right. So you and I talked about this, Harry. were Bucks fans a little too premature and still calling for Todd Bowles' job? I mean, you know Lovey. You actually know Lovey Smith. You've met him, not just because he was coaching the Bears, because he was also coaching the Bucks, but also because he's in the Bay Area. The Buccaneers fans need to kind of slow their roll a little bit on this whole Todd Bowles doesn't belong at the head job with the Buccaneers.
Well, I've shared that thought numerous times. I think some of that blame, has to be, with too many. Well, let me put it like it is. Bruce Arians has no business on that sideline. Todd Bowles should never be looking over his shoulder. Todd Bowles has said some real bonehead things. He's done some bonehead things, but you can't deny one thing about Todd Bowles, Ray. He's a great defensive mind.
Yeah.
Okay, this team. I don't care if George Seifert or Bill Walsh was coaching this team right now. They'd still have a 6-6 record. This offensive line is absolutely horrid.
That's right.
It's just horrid. But I got a little tidbit for you, brother.
Oh, I like it.
The Bucks and the Frisco, the Bucks and the 49ers total is the lowest total of the week.
37.5, right?
37. It is tied for the lowest. It's tied for the lowest total of the year.
Ouch.
But here's one for you guys. You ready? The Bucks not only cover the spread, they win the game outright by 10.
Oh, brother.
And get this. The game goes under tomorrow.
Hold on a minute. I'm gonna need a moment. The game goes under, and the Bucks win by 10. So we're talking like 27-7.
Listen, man, I'm telling you, I don't see Frisco even scoring a touchdown in this game.
Harry, does that rainy weather? I mean, Purdy at quarterback, the kid, he's back there, even though they've been getting him ready all week. This Buccaneers defense being recommitted to show that their guy, their head coach in charge, is locking it down. Is that all playing into what you're seeing?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ray. I'm going to tell you what it's really all about. First off, I watched that tape on Purdy, okay? I was very impressed with the young man's poise. He's got a stronger arm. He's more accurate. He's that much better than Jimmy G.
Yeah.
So why am I picking the Bucks to win this game by 10, even though they're a 3.5-point underdog? I'm going to tell you why. It's not Tampa's defense. They're going to stifle them. It's because on the opposite sideline, he's going to have another quarterback doing this watching him. And his name is Tom Brady. Do you have any clue how hard it is to play football as a rookie quarterback, knowing that the guy that's coming on the field is the GOAT? Are you out of your tree?
I'm telling you what,
bro. I'm telling you, it's a crappy way to handicap, but just having Tom Brady up under center and being that force on the opposite sideline on a rookie quarterback who got baptized in that last game, who played very well.
Yeah, okay? No, he did. I'm not taking anything away from him.
I'm telling you, he can make all the throws. Nah,
you know what I love about that, though?
There's a reason why he's Mr. Relevant, right?
The reason why I like that is I love what you're saying here, because the Dolphins, that last game, Tua Tagovailoa throws like 2 interceptions. One was completely stupid. He was uptight because he was feeling it for his head coach, Mike McDaniels. And then, of course, Garoppolo gets injured on a freak tackle, and Purdy steps in there. Now, let me ask you this, Harry. This has not something to do with your professional handicapping, which, by the way, Buried Elite is pretty damn good. But Tom Brady, not under contract in 2023. Trey Lance may not be ready to be the guy. I know you're going to say, well, Purdy could be the guy and Garoppolo's our guy, but is Tom Brady tomorrow, as he goes home being a San Mateo kid and playing for the team that was his childhood idol team growing up, is he also playing possibly as a job interview for the 2023 season?
I'm going to tell you right now, if the Buccaneers don't do something quickly in the offseason and in the draft to improve that offensive line, yeah, he's gone. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You can't be 46 years old and sit behind that atrocious thing called an offensive line. Tristan Wirfs, he's out. He'll be coming back. How healthy is going to be Jensen? Let's not talk about the left tackle who gives up the cheeks on every single play, okay? But with that being said, they're missing their tight end. They're missing that blocking tight end. Listen, this team isn't done. It could very well be a one-and-done team. I know I heard you say they could be 1-10 or 10-1. It doesn't make a difference. You just have to get to the dance. It's about the momentum. when they're getting into the playoffs. And so far, this team hasn't shown me the momentum. But you want the momentum, you got to go one game at a time, Ray.
Yes, sir. And that one game at a time starts tomorrow out there at Levi Stadium versus those San Francisco 49ers. And we've talked about it. Peter and I are talking about this. And I'm going to ask you, Harry, you break these games down. You know more about the ones and zeros or the X's and O's than I do. The Buccaneers win tomorrow, Monday morning. What is the headline? Which unit of this Buccaneers team should be or could be most responsible for the Buccaneers getting a victory out there in San Francisco on Sunday versus those Niners?
They got to run the ball and play defense, Ray. That's all it is. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to make that young man, okay, very one-dimensional back there. I do not see Deebo Samuel having a big game. I don't see this team even being able to run on this Bucs defense tomorrow because I'm going to tell you right now, that's exactly what San Francisco is going to game plan for. They know they're going to try to come after that young quarterback in Purdy. So they're going to do what they do best. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you got a healthy Vita Vea and you have a healthy Akeem Hicks, that zone blocking is not going to work that well on them. They're not going to move those bulls. That's going to free up those linebackers, and that's where you're going to limit those gains, especially for San Francisco's offense.
You just showed your hand a little bit because I'm going to share with them because I know you better than most cats. And for those out there that don't understand, again, Harry the Greek, Harry, my friend's breaking these games down, and you talk about Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea breaking up that zone blocking scheme. And, of course, that's what the Niners are predicated that run offense on. And you can blow up the middle. And that's why having a Hicks and Vea in this game is so important for having optimism for the Buccaneers to have success tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's exactly how it's going to have to break down. I mean, unfortunately, and it's not unfortunate. That's what they have this defense for. It's about time that this defense wins a game for them. Hello? It hasn't happened in a very long time. They've kept them in games, but they haven't won a game for them, and that's what you're going to see tomorrow.
Brother, I tell you what, my friend, tell us where, and I should have got Peter in here, but tell us where we can find the over-under tomorrow morning and what time so everyone who's checking us out here on Cup of Ray on a Saturday can tune in and find it.
You can check me out tomorrow with that man that's actually hosting the show right now, Mr. Ray Kennedy and Mr. Peter Blake, both my co-hosts, on the over-under tomorrow on 1252 Sports, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, and I don't know what it is out Mountain West or whatever.
If it's, you know what, though, I was saying is, you see him too, Harry, because we're friends on social media. I got a lot of Bucs fans who are more than I ever knew that go to these away games. They were in Cleveland. They're out there in Frisco this week, and Bucs fans are representing. And why not? I mean, this is still Super Bowl 55 champions, divisional round in the playoffs last year. It's been a crazy 2022 so far, but still have a great chance. They're going to get in the dance. And like you said, you get there and momentum's going to predicate all. And at this team, if anything, we haven't had a whole lot of momentum so far this season. You can get hot at the right time. You can have great success if you make that dance.
Without question, you have to have the momentum. And unfortunately, Tampa does not have the momentum. A 500 football team does not have momentum unless they started like only with one win and a whole bunch of losses. And then all of a sudden they got the 500. They got that momentum.
Well, I'll tell you what, though.
They've got to string these wins together, Ray.
You get that victory tomorrow, even if it's, on Monday morning, the press is going to try to say, well, it was against Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. No, you get that momentum.
Purdy, Ray. They're going up against the number one defense in the National Football League.
Yes.
That's not the Dallas Cowboys, even though Dallas is going to break the sack record. That's very skewed, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be fooled by what you're seeing by this Dallas team. They're a very good football team. They're still a wide receiver away from making it to the big dance. I'm sorry, winning the big dance, because they could very easily make it to the Super Bowl. But that defense has a lot of holes. This defense that the Bucs are going to be facing is much better than Dallas's. But they're catching San Francisco at the right time. That defensive line is banged up.
Brother, you got Mr. Irrelevant at quarterback, and here's the thing: it's all about when you see somebody. You got next week. You got the Cincinnati Bengals here at Raymond James Stadium. We'll break that thing down when it's time. We'll look at that dog with fleas then, and then you go out there on Christmas against the Arizona Cardinals. That's a wild card team. That's a gritty team every now and then, but you got to play good tomorrow. Get that victory in San Francisco, and that could put the momentum in the Buccaneers' side. Am I right?
Hey, do me a favor, yes, but go to David Moser's comments, the last comment.
Last comment.
From David Moser, Facebook comment. says, I don't know, Harry. It didn't bother Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh. You're absolutely correct. That's also a different team that you were facing. And I'm going to tell you another thing. Very similar, very big similarities. The Bucs are going to be on the road. The Bucs will be in better shape defensively than they were against Pittsburgh in this game.
Oh, yeah.
And
yes.
number two, here's the biggest thing. Kenny Pickett's a first-round draft pick.
Oh, yeah.
David, much love to you, brother. Great way to combat exactly what I was saying. But I'm telling you now, there's a big difference between a first-round draft pick and Mr. Irrelevant.
Oh, good job. Look at this. That's a great point. Ben Cornett said, hey, Ray, during the soccer match, did anyone say, I see London, I see France, I see someone's underpants?
I was sad to see England lose that game. They never should have lost it. Harry Kane took a penalty shot and just airmailed it.
I saw it. Yeah, they had it down there.
Horrible.
Fred Swayze Moore says 12-9 Bucks Pro Bowl kicker wins it this time. You know what? Ryan Suckup has, you know what? This could be one of those years where Ryan Suckup and Jake Camarda both make the Pro Bowl, which we know now the Pro Bowl is actually a skills competition anymore, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. But tomorrow, the Bucs can't just win this game. They've got to handle this game tomorrow, Ray. If they want to get that momentum going into the last quarter of the season, they've got to control both lines of scrimmage by running the football, by containing the run, and getting after the quarterback. I'm going to tell you right now, this is the first time I'm going to tell you this. I want to see Tom Brady in the first quarter throw the football. Wait a minute. Did you just hear what I said, Ray? You want to see Tom Brady with the football in his hands and get that ball and push it downfield, because I'm going to tell you why. The moment the Bucs go up 7-0, 10-0, 14-0, that is going to make San Francisco very one-dimensional. Then in the second half, start handing the ball off to the guy sitting from behind you, because that's when they're going to control the clock and play defense. Because you and I both know it's a lot easier to play defense and be dominating when you have to play defense against a one-dimensional team. And that's what the Bucs are going to do to the 49ers tomorrow. It's my bet of the week. Almost the bet of the month.
I love it. And don't forget, there's still 5 games left. Of course, you got the Niners, the Cardinals, then you got the Panthers and the Falcons. And you got Rachaad White, the rookie out of Arizona State, who basically was 30% of the team's receiving yards in college and running. And we saw this guy. He does hit the hole with authority. You got 5 weeks left of this season. I mean, I know I'm being a Bucs fan dreamer a bit here, but there's no reason why 5 weeks from now, Rachaad White hasn't put his name up there for Rookie of the Year. I mean, let's dream a little bit. If that happens, this team hits with the momentum to the postseason, and it's all good.
Unfortunately, right now, he's not even going to be in the same zip code as Rookie of the Year. The kid's going to need 1,000 yards rushing and have to catch 40 or 50 balls.
But that would be good. 200 yards a game, 5 games. Brother, thanks for coming in here, Harry. I look forward to talking with you tomorrow on the Over-Under on 1250 Sports, brother.
Hey, have a really good one, man. You take care of yourself. Goodbye, everybody.
Take care, brother. So thanks for coming in here. Please share this show. If you're catching this later on tonight, don't forget there'll be no Cup of Ray in the morning unless I somehow wake up sometimes I get up in the morning and I wake up like at 4 a.m. and I start breaking down the video, or I start looking at all the history of these teams. Which one of the things that came to light this week. So I'll give you a little bit of a teaser to what Cup of Ray will be about tomorrow. I'll save it for tomorrow if I go. But it had something to do with the Bucs versus the 49ers. Let's go back and talk about this. Tony Dungy was the coach here. We were going into the 97 season, but there was really, this team had turned it around. This is way after Hardy Nickerson. This is after, of course, we drafted Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks in 95, John Lynch in 94. But this team was really making a turnaround. In the first game of the year at it was Old Big Sombrero, Tampa Stadium. The first game of the year was against Steve Young and Jerry Rice, 2 Hall of Famers, and the San Francisco 49ers, who I believe were being coached by George Seifert at the time. They came in here at week 1 and played against the Bucs, and 2 things happened that day. But the biggest thing that happened that day was the Bucs got the victory. Warren Sapp, coming around, did a stunt around the outside, came in, went to tackle Steve Young. Steve Young stepped up in the pocket. Warren Sapp reaches out. He hits Steve Young, puts him out with a concussion. No dirty play. Warren Sapp never played dirty. Most of the time. Put Steve Young out with a concussion. But he also, in that game, Jerry Rice had caught a quick pass, a quick throw out, went to go around, and Warren Sapp reached back to tackle him and caught the end of his – I was sitting right there in section 114. reached back and went to tackle him, but kind of got a little bit of his helmet, but didn't pull it. No face mask, no penalty, but he caused Jerry Rice to kind of make a twist in there, and he messed up his knee and went out for the game. The Bucs went on to get that victory that season, that game, that first week of '97 season. I hope it's '97. I'm pretty sure it is. And that was when Buccaneer fans, we already knew this team was improving. We already went through the Sam Weiss years. We saw this team improving under Rich McKay. We get Tony Dungy in here. He brings his team discipline and brings in consistency and brings a conservative approach. 2022 Buccaneers. Does that sound familiar? A conservative approach? He brings his team to where it had to be. We already knew we were getting there. That first game that year, that first game that season against those 49ers. And it wasn't just because we took out Steve Young and took out Jerry Rice, but this team played hard. And that's what we need to see tomorrow, the Buccaneers, as they travel out now at their place in Levi Stadium versus those San Francisco 49ers. Sure, we lose, we're 6-7. We're still in first place. We lose next week to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now we're 6-8. What are the Falcons doing? Falcons, Panthers, and Saints doing? I mean, we don't want to play that game. We want to see this team play gritty, play tough, play good football tomorrow. Get behind your coach as Tom Brady maybe putting on. I said this, but Tom Brady tomorrow might be a job interview. Maybe in 2023, maybe he calls up John Lynch and says, "Hey, you still going with that motherfucker?" And John Lynch says, "You know what? Trey Lance is going to be our guy, but we could give him one more year." And Bucs fans, I'm not saying I hope that happens. I hope Tom decides to stay here in paradise in Tampa Bay on the East Coast with the kids, with Jack, be able to stay here and have a good time with his family. But he's from San Mateo. He grew up a San Francisco 49ers fan. We know that guy's a left coast guy. But whatever it takes, it's all about the victory tomorrow. It's all about the next game. If Tom Brady can end, as Harry the Greek put succinctly there, if Purdy's coming on the sideline, coming up against the GOAT tomorrow, and the eyes of the world upon him, I don't care if it's just because his first grade girlfriend, his first crush is there, and he's nervous. Whatever it takes to get in that kid's head, to let this Buccaneers team have advantage, to get that victory tomorrow, and go to 7-6, and continue to show this National Football League, and more importantly, the national media, just what this damn 2022 team is made out of. And it can get these people, these talk show pundits, these talking heads, these media types who are supposed to really be analyzing the whole thing and not just running with whatever's going to generate the most calls or the most clicks and shares. The fact that this Buccaneers team is still a damn talented team, who, by the way, buried a lead, looks to get healthy at the right time to go into the postseason. Then let's get that victory tomorrow against those 49ers out there at Levi Stadium. Again, I said 24-22. Ryan Suckup, walk-off field goal. I'll take it. Let me get the rest of these comments. David Motors. Misador says, Me says, did you just pick the Bucs? I'm sorry, I just popped back in. You talking about Harry the Greek? Yes, he did, me. Took the Bucs. And me says, did Ray just say the dude hits that hole with authority? Let me tell you, there's this one girl over here at the bar. Come on, me, get me in trouble. Hey, please share the show. Thanks for joining me. Have a happy Saturday night. I have in about 40 minutes, I have a parade starting about 5 minutes north of here. City of Pinellas Park's having their holiday parade tonight. Tristan and I told me to stop by there. He's got a couple of friends in the Osceola Marching Band. So my only goal is to go over there and find a place that's selling IPA heavies and get involved. So thanks for joining me. Please share the show. Happy Saturday. Watch for tomorrow, because I will tell you all I did the homework for a Sunday morning cup of Ray, and it had nothing to do with today's show. Let me go over my notes, since I got your attention anyway. I talked about the fact that the Lions are playing against the Vikings tomorrow. I love that game. I love the Lions beat the Vikings, and I already said this week, the Bucs closed down the old Tampa Stadium in '97 against the Lions, making the postseason their first playoff victory, 20-10 over those Lions. And, of course, the Buccaneers and the Eagles, who are now the top seed in the NFC by one game over the Vikings, who I'm not going to go there. I'll save that for another time. Tom Brady. Here's a little stat to share with you. Tom Brady, he's played 377 games over the last 23 years. Just imagine that. In 23 years in the NFL, Tom Brady's played 377 times. Only once has he played against his favorite team, that being the 49ers, when he grew up. Tomorrow's game number 2 in their house. No doubt Mr. and Mrs. Brady and the sisters and the family are going to be there. Tom, We all got real shit going on. So, do you, buddy. Do you, babe. Take a deep breath. Enjoy the moment. I know it's weird to say that to the greatest of all time, to enjoy the moment, because Lord knows you've always been able to figure out a way to enjoy the moment. Take a deep breath. And here's why I say this. These Buccaneers mean as much to you in 2022 as the Patriots did in 2019. I get that, as much as the Wolverines did back in 2000 or 1999, 2000. This is our team for life. We're ride or die with these guys. And I know you're that same way. But just take a deep breath. Enjoy the moment. And the rest of you guys, the other 52 on the active squad, yes, it's better step up and give this guy everything he needs to pull out a victory there against those 49ers. 377 games, only once he's played against those 49ers. And that one time he played against them, it was when Tom Brady's Patriots, they beat Chip Kelly's 49ers. Of course, they were coached by Chip Kelly at the time. 30-17 at Levi Stadium, which, by the way, was also a rainy day. I'll leave you guys and girls with that thought. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me on Cup of Ray. Share the show, please. Again, I can't grow this if you guys don't share it. I appreciate you. We'll look at Peter Webb and the Sports Web, Ben Zone. Go ahead and look for the over-under tomorrow morning with Harry the Greek and Peter Blake and possibly myself. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to go ahead and finish with this comment because it's the best comment of the night. Did Ray just say that dude hits the hole with authority? Yeah, I did, me. Y'all have a great evening, and I'll see you next time on Cup of Ray.